This whole thing kicked off with a great story. A Stanford professor hops into an Uber, and the driver, who's in a shiny new EV, turns around and asks him a question that I'm sure you've heard a million times online. He says, "Hey, is this thing actually better for the planet than just, keeping my old clunker on the road?" And honestly, that's a fantastic question. It really gets to the heart of a huge debate. So let's just lay it all out there. Imagine this. On one side, you've got a trusty 40-year-old truck. It still runs great. On the other side, a brand new electric vehicle, fresh off the lot, zero tailpipe emissions. So you have the old, reliable workhorse versus the shiny new technology of the future. So which one is truly the greener choice? Which one would you pick? And really, this isn't just about the metal and rubber of two different vehicles. It's like a clash of two really good ideas, right? You've got their reduce and reuse philosophy. Just keep using what you already have. And then you have the clean technology argument, which says, hey, let's build something better, even if it means starting fresh. So what's the right move? All right, so let's tackle the old truck first. The argument for keeping it around is super powerful, and it's really, really simple. It's already here. Think about it. All the energy, all the resources, all the pollution from building that truck, that happened decades ago. It's what you'd call a sunk cost, right? The environmental bill for its creation has already been paid. So if you keep driving it, you're not really adding any new manufacturing footprint to the planet.
Okay, but here's where it gets complicated. That new EV, well, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere, totally guilt-free. In fact, it starts its life in what you could call carbon debt.
Yeah, you heard that right. Because of all the mining and the super complex process of building that big battery, a brand new EV actually has a bigger manufacturing footprint than a new gas-powered car. So right from the starting line, the EV is actually behind in the environmental race. And check this out. We've got some data here that really puts that debt into perspective. The total material footprint, that's basically all the raw stuff pulled from the earth to build it, is a massive 42 tons for an EV. A regular car? Only 16 tons. And where does that huge difference come from? Yep, you guessed it. It's pretty much all about that battery. So you might be thinking, wow, if the EV starts off that far behind, how could it ever catch up? Well, this is where things get really interesting. It all comes down to a race to something called the break-even point. And trust me, this is where the math totally flips the entire story on its head. So what is this break-even point? It's the magic number. It's the exact distance you have to drive where the EV's clean performance on the road finally pays off that bigger manufacturing debt. So think of it like this. Before you hit that mileage, the old truck is winning. But after you cross that line, the EV takes the lead for good. And this chart, wow, this shows you exactly why the EV catches up so fast. Every single kilometer you drive, a typical diesel car is pumping out about 250 grams of CO2. An EV, even one plugged into a regular average power grid, is only responsible for around 75 grams. That is a huge difference every single time you hit the road. So, what's the magic number? How long does it take for a new EV to pay back its carbon debt compared to, say, a 40-year-old Land Cruiser? Are you ready for this? It's just 12,585 miles. For most people, that's less than a year of driving. So after just 1 year on the road, for the entire rest of its life, the EV is without a doubt the cleaner car. But wait, there's more to it than just CO2, right? If we want the real answer, we've got to zoom out and look at the whole life cycle of these cars, not just what comes out of the tailpipe. And this table here does a great job of laying it all out. Now, let's be fair. You can see that right now, EVs do have a bigger impact when it comes to resource depletion. That's all the mining for the battery parts. But look at everything else. The gasoline car is way worse for global warming, for energy demand, and for creating nasty smog. It's not even close in those categories. And you know what? The trend here is super clear. As our power grids get cleaner and our battery tech gets better, the EV's lead is just going to get bigger and bigger. In fact, if you look at the projections for 2050, the EV is expected to be the winner in pretty much every single environmental area. All right. I know what you're thinking. But what about the batteries? It's like the elephant in the room when we talk about EVs. What happens when they get old? Well, this is where recycling steps in. And folks, it is a complete game changer. And it's not just a nice idea. As Professor William Tarpe at Stanford says, We're literally forecast to run out of new cobalt, nickel, and lithium in the next decade. So recycling isn't just a bonus, it's something we absolutely have to figure out, and fast. And the benefits of doing this? They're not just small, they are absolutely massive. Getting these metals from an old battery instead of digging a new hole in the ground is a huge, huge deal. Just look at these numbers. First up, greenhouse gases. Using recycled battery materials cuts those emissions by up to 81%, compared to mining them fresh. That is huge. Next, water. Recycling slashes water use by up to 88%. And that's so important because a lot of these mines are in places that don't have a lot of water to spare. And finally, energy. It cuts the energy needed by up to 89%. So that big question, what do we do with old batteries? It has a really powerful answer. We recycle them. We create this closed loop that makes every single EV built in the future that much cleaner from the start. So look, when you put them head to head, the data is pretty clear about which car comes out on top. But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe the real goal isn't just about picking a greener car. Maybe it's about designing a future where we don't need to rely on cars so much in the first place. Now that's a much bigger question, isn't it?